Cool. So today I'm going to do more Fauna work. Hello, Jason. How are you? You know what I should do? I should tweet out in Discord when I'm starting to stream. That seems like a thing that a Discord channel is meant for. Smart. The thing that kills me on Windows every single time is the lack of like Control-E, Control-A getting to the front and the back of text fields. I just like, for some reason, I can't click with it, and like I always end up just capitalizing everything. I think I'm already logged in, right? I should be. Yeah, there we go. So probably going to start off here. I think this is, way zoomed out. I'm going to start off here in the shell, I think. This is a demo database that I'm using for my Egghead videos, which I guess I can, like, show or link to that. So I've got a FaunaDB playlist going. It's got 7 videos. Looks like there's a little bit of a image loading issue there, but that's okay. But yeah, go through an intro, go through a couple of the query language things that we're going to get into today. And yeah, that's why my workload is all creeping while I'm on the train. Welcome to the stream, Dom. Yeah, so I'm probably just going to hang out in here for a little bit and figure out, because we have a couple of tweets here. So actually, let me review what we did last time. That would probably be useful for people who are not necessarily joining. How are you doing today, Dom? I know that typing on your phone or whatever is going to be tough. So we have, actually I have it open locally. I don't even need to go there. But this will have the commit. Did a bunch of other stuff. Fauna. This is probably it. Yes, the track live delivery. You mean the track live delivery that isn't actually a tracking the live delivery? Yes. Be like, hey, can I just come meet your truck? Because it's like 2 blocks away. Yeah, for sure. That's not actually the stuff we did last stream. I should really name my PRs better. Well, you see all the messages there, right? That's what it's basically doing. So we've got these dev tips. The dev tips tweet out. I think one tweeted out today. Yeah. So like this one tweeted out today. This one's tweeted out a couple of times. I think I need to make sure that we're not tweeting out the same one like every 3 days or something like that. Which is why I'm doing this in Fauna at all. That's the point of the Fauna stuff. So last time we went over, we made our dev tip, or like Fauna tweet result, Go struct. We added a new client for Fauna using the Go SDK. We created a new Fauna tweet result, so that's the struct that we had up there. We learned how to query and insert a document for the first time, which is what this is. So we're basically just doing a query create. We used class instead of collection here because there was something off about the Go SDK. And then the data with the Fauna tweet. And if something happened that went wrong, we just return a 500 because then I'll see it in Zapier or whatever, and Zapier will like notify me. So yeah. And then all the honeycomb stuff is still working, still happening. So yeah, that worked really well. We did that all in like an hour. So today, my goal is to figure out how I can query these. Hey, Robert, how's it going? So we've got a couple of tweets. These are the tweets that have gone out in the last 3 days since we did the last stream, right? I guess it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I figured out that we're not inserting these as date times right now, I don't think. So I think when we do the shell, we can convert these to dates, but it might be better to actually store them as dates. So I might update the code to run such that these get stored in as like a go time dot whatever. Because I think then it'll get converted into a FaunaDB date object. Where are the docs? There we go. So if we look at the FQL and we look at the data types, it's basically JSON, except there's a couple extra types like byte and date. And I think what I want to do is I want to change the struct to be a date when we insert it, but I'm not going to do that right now because I think I can convert in the query as well. But if that turns out to be too hard, then I'll just change it all. So we've got a bunch of queries here that seem to just be sticking around, so I'm going to clear them. And we've got... You know, I actually forgot that it was Monday, Robert. I don't know. For me, at this point, with my other contracts winding down, I'm sort of like in the in-between phase. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, it's a Monday or something. I don't know. Maybe I streamed today. I think I streamed today. It's kind of funny. Cool. So we've got... Is this big enough for people to see when I'm typing? Hey, thanks for the sub, Blase. Blase? Is that what you said? That's awesome. I assume that's Blase. It's supposed to be Blase. That's awesome. Okay, so we're going to... so we don't have an index here, so we have to do a collection. And what did I call it? Dev tip tweets, if I remember correctly. There's no shortcuts either, so I have to click run. Yeah, it's dev tip tweets. And then this is what our fields look like. So I think I want to get the list of tweets that have been tweeted in the last, like, I think I'm going to make it 2 weeks. Let's make it 14 days. I think 14 days is the right time length. Right now I have 21 distinct dev tips to tweet out. I'm trying to double that over the next month. But until then, I think 14 days is the right amount of time here. So let's go back to the shell. Thanks for the follow as well. I didn't know that you could sub without following. That's interesting. Well, thanks for everything. So if we just match the collection... No. Do we have to call this an index? I don't... Oh, no, there's an index that was automatically created. That was the thing. So there's an index, because you can't query anything without an index. So I believe what they do is they automatically create the all whatever, like all collection name index. Also, thing number 2 is that I think they use underscores for their names. So like I was using dashes for my collection names, and maybe I should use underscores so that I don't have to like remember which one is which. So maybe I'll do that next time I next time I do something. But if we match on the index all dev tip tweets, right? So if I remove this and show you what index returns, it's just a ref to the index basically. And then we match on that, which means we get the set of all documents in the index. And then I think in match, we might be able to do something. So let's check out the docs here. Actually, what I might need to do is index on the date. I haven't really gotten into creating indexes yet. So that may be most of what we do on this stream today. Because the querying for it is fairly easy once you have the index set up. But I should also be able to query for it without the index, I believe. But yeah, so we didn't get into the query language much last time. I get into it in these videos. So I was doing some research, obviously, over the weekend. But basically, like, you have a bunch of functions. All of those functions return values. All of those values get passed into other functions, resulting in eventually the query that returns, right? So it's kind of cool. I like working with it. I just don't have all of the types for all of the functions memorized yet. And there are other things, like sometimes if you use the function paginate, you get an object that is called a page. And all that is a special structured object. But if you use like an array function, you end up passing it through that object structure automatically, so you don't need to worry about like selecting data dot whatever. It just applies the array function to the underlying page collection or page array. So that's kind of cool. So I don't know how these search terms relate to the index. I don't know what the index is on. So maybe we go to indexes and we look at it, and I don't know. This is all of the items in the index, but I don't know if there's like a terms. Okay, lookup term. For example, if you want to look up user details by last name, data.lastname would be entered as a lookup term in this field, leaving it blank to false to all. This optional field may not be changed later, but you can delete and recreate the index. And something I do know about creating indexes is that they created asynchronously or lazily kind of thing. So if you have more than, I think it was 128 documents in a collection, and you create an index, the index will get created and will start indexing documents, but won't finish immediately. So there's a field on the index called, I thought that was you guys for a second, and it's actually sirens outside. That happens so rarely in this apartment now. Yeah, so there's a field here if you look for it called active. And if you create an index on a collection that already exists, what it'll do is it'll create the collection create the index over time. And whenever it's done, that index or that active field will get set to true. And it'll be false until then. So you can sort of like wait until the index is fully up and running and then do whatever you're going to do with it. So that's kind of cool. So I wonder if we can match data dot. I need to flip back and forth a bunch, so I'm going to just pull this onto a different to be created out. I don't know if this will work. Actually haven't used search terms yet. So let's paginate this. Did I talk Jason into Overwatch dev team yet? Oh, Jason doesn't know about Overwatch dev team yet. He doesn't know that he's going to play. I like how you didn't tag him in that either. We're going to do an Overwatch dev team stream, Jason. And I'm going to convince you to download Overwatch and join us. And we're going to get like 6 developers. I tweeted about it earlier. Yes, Overwatch is a game. And yeah, we're all going to learn together. We're going to go into casual and just sort of like mess around. and see if we can get any wins. It's fine. I just downloaded it too, Jason. There will be some people that know what they're doing. Yeah, I know that your new PC can handle it, so I know that you're not much of a gamer in that sense, but I know that you can if you want to here, so I figured I would reach out to you and be like, hey, you know, we're going to do this thing. You should come do it. Yeah, that's about what I expected. Okay, so we're getting no data back from data.tweetCreatedAt, which is interesting. I don't know why that is. I wonder... I don't know what the match does on an index that is just everything. Because if we do this, I believe we just get everything. And there's also filter. It says match term, so maybe I'm doing the wrong thing here, but... No, that's match. So maybe the docs are just either out of date or just the naming is slightly different in the... Oh, that's probably just the Go name for it. That's fine. I wish there was an FQL name here. Like, I understand that like the clients are like awesome and everything, but like I would love to see an FQL expression instead of like a client. Because there are naming differences. Like Go needs match term instead of match. My PC is currently doing laps around my house on a UPS truck. I just know they're going to try and deliver during my stream. When are you streaming? Are you up in like an hour or two or something? MacBook delivery? Dude, the MacBooks, Apple gets like, if you do like same day, they just like contract with somebody to deliver it straight to you. And it doesn't go through UPS or anything, which is pretty dope. Yeah, so let's read a little bit about these terms because I don't understand them, obviously. If the index is configured with no terms, then search terms argument should be omitted. Okay, so if the index doesn't have terms, you can't search by those terms, it sounds like. If the index is configured with multiple terms, then the search terms should be an array of values. Okay, so basically when you set up an index, you define what needs to be passed in to get values back out. And this index doesn't have any terms, so we don't need to add any search terms. Makes sense. Cool. That works for me. So let's go to filter then, because I think filter will be what we need next. Right, because right now what we have is... actually, I can move this over here while I do this, and then move this over here. And now we have both of them, and I don't have to flip back and forth. Isn't that great? I know how to use computers. Later, Dom. Thanks for dropping in. What are you streaming today, Jason? Did that come up twice for y'all? Or am I just hearing both of them? I think I'm monitoring my desktop. Okay, it's doubled. Okay, I don't know why it's doubled, but you know. I'm streaming pudding. We found the chocolate pudding and we're gonna stream it. Just gonna sit and eat. While I eat pudding. Cool. So filter, collection, lambda. We have we have an array. So there's this weird naming convention where a collection is a collection proper, like these collections, but also in the docs, collection refers to an array or a set or a collection. So if you can get past that, I think that any array function can basically, or like any of the functions that operate on a group of things can basically operate on an array or a set. I have not confirmed that, but that is the gist that I'm getting from the way that the docs read. Providing a lambda function which does not return a Boolean results in an invalid argument error. Okay, cool. So our lambda is going to have to return true or false. Cool. Okay, so filter is definitely what we're going to need. I think that we don't need to paginate here, but I don't know what we get back if we don't. Like all of the queries, all of the example queries and stuff that I've seen have always used paginate. I wonder if we can just get a set. We can get a set. If we get a set, it only gives us the one. So what is... Because we're only going to get 14 results back, and we really don't need to care that much about like pagination on this. So I don't think there's a get all. I think there's a select all, which may be the thing that we're looking for. Or maybe match is the thing. Get function retrieves a single document identified by ref. Get is also useful for retrieving the first document from a match result. Okay. So get is not what we need. It's the single object version of the thing that we need that operates on arrays. I know we can map over and get, so I'm not too worried about this, but I would like to see something that is sort of like a get all, or like a select all maybe. Select all function extracts one or more values from a document. This is useful when extracting multiple values in an array. It extracts all of the values specified by the path parameter out of the from parameter and returns the values as an array. If the path does not exist, an empty array is returned. Okay. So this isn't necessarily what we want. Well, we can use... We might be able to use select all, actually. I don't know... Does this work? No, it only works on an object. So this doesn't work on sets. Or actually, it might work on sets, because I think set is an object. So let's try that. So select all. The path is going to be data dot pre-created at. I don't know if those need to be different things like this. There are no examples in this language, so there are no examples there. Let's see. Select all on. So this needs to be an array of favorites and name. And there's an object here that is favorites and then an array. And the array has a name in it. So I think that what we're doing here is correct. But it is not working because I match returns a set, maybe? Is that the issue? Hey Ben, how's it going? Branching out to games and cooking and streaming. Yeah, I'm excited for that cooking stream, Jason. Actually, I got the book. The book is sitting on my counter. And my partner actually was just like stood at the counter and read through it for a while. So I think I'm gonna have to make stuff. I think I committed myself to making stuff because it all looked good. So select all isn't working here. Because I don't think... So I think that this is just the JSON representation. Something is going on today. And it's funny because this used to happen every day on all of my other streams. But we've got... Yeah, so I think at set is just the JSON AST representation of a set. And it's not actually like an object that we can select on, if that makes sense. Like theoretically we would do what at set, which is kind of silly and doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to map over this. if we were mapping over the match, yeah. So actually, we haven't answered the question to how do we get all of the items, right? I wonder if map works on sets. Right, like it explicitly takes an array, but I also know that it takes the page. So the documentation for the FQL query language is such that you have to kind of know that a page can operate as an array, even though this function can, like, this function technically doesn't take a page, but a page offers itself as an array to this function. So it makes sense that array is here, but like from a user standpoint, I would like to see like array, page, set if this works on arrays, pages, and sets. So I'm going to try it on a set and see if it works. I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to do a lambda. We're going to call our argument x. The var, we're going to use the var, I guess. And I'm going to assume that this comes in as like the first object in the set. So I'm going to say get var. And I missed a parenthesis somewhere. This is not there. Invalid argument, array or page expected, set provided. So it doesn't work on sets, but arrays and pages are basically the same. So let's go to the data structure thing up here and look at sets. Because paginate takes a set. So there should be able to be something that we do here, right? So if we match on the index, this looks like a dynamically constructed index, maybe? No, this is just the Java version. Man, Java trips me out. So we're just doing a match on an index here, which is what we're doing over there. And then there's like higher level stuff like intersection that work on sets, but none of those are really what I'm looking for. Right, like there's something, where is this? So there's difference, distinct, events. What do these actually return? These return set refs. No, they take set refs. What do they return? Returns a set ref. So it takes and returns a set ref. Hey Max, how's it going? Match takes an index reference and returns a set ref. So we need to operate on set ref, but the only thing I know that operates on a set ref is paginate. Is there a set ref section here? There's not a set ref section. And where's paginate? Paginate is up here. Paginate is under read, so maybe... So select all selects an array, it looks like, and select selects a specific field. Paginate returns a subset of the results. Get retrieves a document for the specified reference. So there's something we need to combine with get to get all of these objects. And I don't think that we are basically allowed to just get them all. I think we have to paginate. Confirmed that it is wet in New York. So I'm going to stick a paginate on this for now. Maybe I'll ask in their Slack channel later if... because I don't know when paginate will stop returning results. Right? I don't know when it hits next or whatever. Oh, size. So it takes a size argument. So we got the input, the timestamp, pagination on a Chris stream, but Chris doesn't have enough entries. I don't. I have 3. If you look, I returned them all, and even though we used paginate, there is no pagination. Wrestling with some JOT issues? Yeah, I hear that, Max. Okay, so the before, the after, the integer, So it defaults to 64. I think I'm okay with that. I don't know actually, so can we just keep comma-ing without passing stuff in? Like, can we do this and then just set size? Paginate some... Yeah, so that would be right. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. And then we set this to like 14. Let's set this to 2, actually, and see if that works. I don't know if the commas are valid syntax or if we have to pass in null or something. I don't even know if null is valid. I just know that the type function requires from 1 to 2 arguments, but 5 were given. Okay, so what did I do wrong here? Did I give it to the wrong... So match is here, that's paginate. So this is in paginate. Paginate takes input and then a bunch of other stuff. Does it take an object? Is that the issue? None of these examples use the extra values, as far as I can tell. Okay, so there's one here. This is a union, and then we do f.sources true. What is sources? Is sources in here? Sources is not in the FQL. So sources is a Golang SDK thing. Oh, no, these are all, it's an object. Okay, so it has to be an object. Yeah, it looks like it's an object. So this is going to be what? f.object. How do we construct an object? Actually, don't know if this is accurate, but where is object? There is no object here. That's fun. Yeah, that double play is weird. I wonder if I have 2 chats open or 2 instances of the script running. Give me a sec. I do. I have 2 of them running. So you can instance your Okay, we're good. I just I closed the other one. Man, that was weird. I guess I have to remember to not do that. So the documentation for this is a little weird. The other thing I'll do is that I just stop the music on accident. Abort. Without even thinking, you said holy buckets, did that just work? So sources is a field name. Yeah, so this documentation is definitely confusing. But what I think it's trying to say is that there's an object here like this. And we would have to do something like this in the query. Identifier expected, object provided. Okay, so let's do this because we're passing now this new value to get. So yeah, that's how it works. Let's do size. So you can type object literals into this. And you can see that we get the pagination actually when we do this. Cool. So we've gotten the two of them now. That's great. I will make a note of that. There's this list of FaunaDB stuff that I'm making videos for. And this will be stuff that we did on the stream. GFQL. FQL takes object literal. This is basically the list of egghead videos that I'm going to make later, because every time I run into something, I make a note and then deal with it. Open question is, I guess since you can paginate with a page size, you don't really need like to get everything, maybe. I mean, that would be okay. But I'm going to add a question here, like get all results without paginate, because that's an open question. I don't know if we can do that. Paginate works for our use case, but yeah. Cool. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to change this to size 14, because eventually we're going to have 14 of these. And it should return all of them now. Great. I wish there was a formatter here. I want a prettier for FQL. And nobody tell me to write it. Okay. So now we're paginating over all of the matches in our index, which is all of the documents. We're returning 14 results. Or we're paginating by a size of 14, getting page 0. Actually, is that true? I think it's true. Let's do 2 again. After, yeah, we get after as the... Also, a keyboard shortcut to run this would be great. Like a command enter or something would be absolutely fantastic. Cool. So we get all the results. I want to... So I don't know if that's actually what I want. I want to filter them by... I think I need to create an index for this, actually. Because what I'm trying to do is get all of the documents that were published in the last like 7 days, right? Or some 14 days in this case. So we can get a list of 14 of them, but I think that's just an arbitrary list of 14 of them. It may be because of the way that they're inserted and dealt with that we get the 14 that were last inserted, which would be fine. But I'm not sure if the order of insertion is guaranteed in the results. Index, index, index. Where's index? How can I spell? I swear I can spell. Yeah, because this is like 21, 22, 23, and this is returning them as 21, 22, 23. So I think it's always in the right order. I don't know if we can select from the end, though. Like if we paginate... Where's paginate? There's paginate. If we paginate, can we... These are cursors, so that's not what we want. I think we would have to use FQL to iterate over to the last available page, maybe? If we were going to do this. possible to dead reckon through a set by specifying a synthetic cursor. For a set in descending order, before null or after 0 yields the first and last pages of the set respectively. Okay, so basically what this is saying is that there are a number of different ways to do queries, and like everything I want to do seems possible. It's just that I don't know the little way to do it. Dead Reckon sounds like a metal band. But I'm going to add that to my videos list. I plugged it into a different USB port, Ben. And that's not a joke. So my camera used to be freezing in my old streams. And I took it out of the USB port it was in and plugged it into a different USB port. And I haven't had a problem since. So that's wonderful. Okay. So if these always get returned in the created I guess that is not. I guess we need before null. So that gives us what, the one from the 22nd and the one from the 23rd, which is what we want. So I think this has it. The documentation actually has it backwards for a set in descending order. I think this is ascending order with the dates. So we don't have it backwards. Different type of USB port. It's possible. I haven't checked. So in the back of my computer, I have a couple different kinds of USB port. And in the front, I have, I think they're all the same version. I think the front is like 3.1 and the back might be 3.0 and 3.1 or something like that. I don't know. In any case, it's very, very possible that the USB port in the back that I was using at the time was not the USB port that the camera capture needed. And the front of the computer is actually the one that it needed. So it's possible that I move it to a different set of USB ports in the back and it still works. I just haven't had time to test it yet. Okay, cool. So now we have the last two results, which means that we don't actually need to filter or do anything, and this just gives us what we want. Really cool. I like that. Because I think this is... So what I think is happening is because these are inserted with a timestamp ID, I think this is a timestamp ID, right? Or a timestamp based ID. Let's check insert to just make sure of that. Adds an event to a document's history at a specified timestamp. So if we don't specify the timestamp, it just uses the current timestamp. So when we are inserting, these IDs are getting created from that timestamp, I believe. So Unix timestamp to date. I'll just dump this in and see what it gives me. 12:06 a.m. on 5:30 is the wrong... That's not the right thing. So it must be a timestamp derived ID and not a... Oh no, there's the timestamp. I just took the wrong thing. That's... Yeah, there we go. 9/2 at 11:46 p.m. September 2nd. That seems weird. In any case, I think those are timestamp based. This timestamp might be... We might have to get the timestamp in a different way than just like copying it out like I'm doing. Which is another good lesson. Looks like your converter wants the second value. That's possible. I just did a random converter, so it's not like I know how to use it or anything. Oh yeah. So you're saying like something more like that. I forget how many zeros you have to chop off. In any case, my knowledge of timestamp conversion is obviously lacking. But yeah, anyway, there is a timestamp there. If I could remember for the life of me how timestamps work, then it would be... in any case, the ordering seems to be timestamp based, right? This is 882. This is whatever. Yeah, I think they're in milliseconds here, and I think the converter is what Blase was saying was it wants seconds. But I don't remember what this one is. So that gives us the query that we want, basically. It gives us the last page, which is the last n inserted tweets. Now, when we start updating later, I don't know if this query fails, right? Because if we go back and we update one of these with the favorite count or something, I don't know if that turns into a new document in the list, and then we'll jump to the front. And I don't want it to do that. So we may have to create an index on the tweet created at to get that to work correctly. But for now, I'm going to stick with this. So then in this case, we can do an additional select here. So now that we have all the fields that we want, and this select will operate on the get. And we'll do data. I don't know if I can do a single... I always see this written with arrays, but I wonder if I can do data dot tweet created at, because that would be kind of a nice shorthand syntax. No, it doesn't look like I can do that. And I assume that's because you can include dots in the field names or something like that. So now we have, actually what I want is dev tip ID, right? Because that's what we're going to use later. So that's what we get. I wonder... So let's take a look at the Go for, what is this, paginate? So the Go syntax for paginate will return us something, and I'm looking for the example to see what we get back. And it looks like we just get a map back with data in it. So I would like for this to just return the array, I think. So we can do another select here for data. I don't know that this really matters in the grand scheme of things, but it does give us this, and it's like quote unquote bulk results mode. Which I think means that, hey, you opted out of the paginate. Isn't milli a metric prefix? I think it would be weird if seconds, milliseconds was like 128 or something. Yeah, I don't We can actually look up quickly what the timestamps are here. This is not what I wanted, actually. Where's insert? Timestamp. It's a long. It is the time within documents history that should be modified. Can be expressed as either a number of Unix microseconds. So I think that the Unix timestamp is actually not microseconds. Was the issue that I was seeing before. Microseconds. To date. What are the chances this operates in microseconds? Supports seconds, milliseconds, microseconds, and nanoseconds. Perfect. And there we go. So the result was I did a Google search for a Unix timestamp conversion tool, and it gave me one that didn't support all of the arguments that I wanted to give it. But yeah, so that timestamp is actually very similar to the tweet created at timestamp because they're created, I don't know, within a second of each other, I think. So this is 9:53 at 10 seconds, and this is, well, I need to convert it to local time. I don't know what this option does. Even date to timestamp? No, I want this in local time. What is this in local time? Oh well, I guess we aren't going to get it. Anyway, we can see that the number of minutes is 51, and this is 53. So there's something different about either the time that is on my server that this is running on versus the time on the server that the database is running on, or whatnot. That's about a minute apart or something like that. Maybe 30 seconds. But yeah, so I think this index is on that insertion time. But yeah, we'll change it to be an index on the actual inserted date. The thing for me right now is that this date is not actually a FaunaDB date. It's just a string. So I need to change some Go code on the other end too, I think. Yeah, so this is what we're going to do. And we can go into our Go code now. And we are in the top of our handle request function. After we get a client, we get the dev tips. But let's do the FaunaDB query first. So I think what we need to do is f.query. And then we basically just need to re-encode this into the way that Golang wants us to call these functions and stuff. So I'm just going to put f dot in front of all of them because that is the import. I think this is match terms. Match term. I don't know if match is a thing here. Let's try match. Match looks like a thing. So maybe the docs are off still. F.index, lambda, select, get var. I think this needs to be f.object. And I don't know what the syntax for f.object is. That's in paginating, right? There we go. F.object is... Well, this is f.sources. I hope that takes an object. Let's go look at the Golang SDK. No, the Godoc. Not the repo, the Godoc. Paginate. This takes optional parameters. Optional parameters are... Yes, that's nice. It describes whatever. Tell me what fields are in it. Okay, that's interesting. Type alias. Paginate retrieves the page from the created set. Yes, that makes sense. Maybe match and match term are different function signatures, and that's why. Let's look that up quickly. Yeah, match is a ref and term, or match is no terms, and match term has terms. Okay, so that's the only difference between the two. So if we look at paginate, I don't think has an example of using options. An optional parameter looked like a func. After before sources TS time. This doesn't list size as an optional parameter, which is weird. So I don't actually know what I need to do here to get this to work, because sources is its own. Oh, okay, here's a bunch of things that return optional parameters. There's after, before, default, events. So we've got size and after, or before is what we needed before. Kind of weird to me that these are all separate. Also, because we're synthetically constructing the cursor, I don't know quite what ref needs to be here either. Like, it's typed as an interface, which means there's no type safety, basically. But I don't know quite what it's expecting. I don't know if it's an f.dot object or not. I don't know if it's... let's go back to paginate. Oh, so okay. So this is a spread, which means that we can just keep adding them in. That's fine. That makes a lot more sense. So f.dot before, and we'll need f.dot size. Size will be 2, and before will be null, hopefully. Maybe nil. Maybe I should pass in nil. What's wrong with this comma? Expected type found comma. Why are you expecting a type? Because I'm not setting you equal to anything. I guess that returns two things. This is still giving me a problem. Let's just get all of this. So we can leave that all on one line. Put this on the next one, maybe. Oh, you know what the problem is? I left the bracket here. That's a problem. That's not the problem, though. So that's select. Maybe I should check the select signature. Path value. Nope, we're good. For querying, we're using f.select. Expected type found comma. What did I do wrong here? I'm using my syntax completely incorrectly. That's the problem with working in multiple languages. You completely forget what the valid syntax is. Oh, the comma here. Comma there. Comma there, comma there. There we go. Now everything's fine and dandy, and now Go format likes it. Okay. And you get a comma, and you get a comma. Everybody gets a comma. Okay, so we've got the results. The results should be invalid type. I think f.query returns an error. Maybe it just panics. Func query lambda interface expression. Nope, that's not what we're looking for, is it? Where's client? Okay, there we go. Client query gives us the value and the error. The value. Code of FaunaDB type into a native Go type. Okay, let's do that. Oh, this is like a select now? That's awesome. Do you think we have to do fauna.get? I guess since this doesn't allow us to pass in, I guess we do have to do that. Where's CS code? This is going to be tips tweeted in last n days. For this, I'm just going to do tips tweeted in last n days. It's going to be string. Yes, we can do this. This doesn't exist, so results.get. I guess we don't actually need to use this. We don't even need to not... Yeah, we could just do this. Better late than never. Welcome, Tals. Nice to see you again. No, that's why it's not f.query. Okay. If f error not equal nil, then we do the same thing we're doing everywhere else. Welcome to Golang. Actually, you know what? We're just going to add the field. I think if we can't get the list of previously tweeted tweets from Fauna, I'm going to choose to make us not care. Right? Like, I don't think that it matters. Like, from an availability standpoint, I want this to tweet more than I want this to be correct. So if we can't get the list of previously tweeted tweets from Fauna for some reason, I will risk it and risk tweeting the same one 2 days in a row. I think that's okay. And I'm going to add a new field called warning for that to my honeycomb logs because... or my honeycomb event. Because while I don't care about it, I would like to know if I can't access the database for some reason. I guess I'll just call that warning. It's like a thing that we should care about, but like it doesn't really matter. Like it doesn't change anything really. We might just get the same dev tip 5 days in a row. So we'll stick this in here. And then what we'll do is we'll set equal to like an empty string array. I think that'll work, right? Go isn't yelling at me yet. And then here, when we need to loop over this, because we get the dev tips, we have the tips, we get a num tip, and then this is the part we're going to have to loop over if we run into an issue. So we're going to do tip to tweet index. We have our tip to tweet. It's going to be, what, a dev tip, I think it is. And then we have, how am I going to do this loop? Probably going to make this another function, right? I think a while loop, while... How do I do a while loop and go? I haven't done one of those like ever. I forgot. Yeah, there's no while. It's for. That's why I've never used a while loop and go. Yeah, for is overloaded, right? Because for, you can do for in like the classic 3, I don't know what you call that, 3 statement loop where you like set index to 0 and then iterate over the index. Or you can do a for as a range, and I actually didn't know I had these 2 snippets, so that's nice. Or you can do for with just the expression, and it'll do a while. So there's a lot of different ways to use for. Yeah, I think part of the intent behind it is that you just use for and then you don't have, because they don't have map or anything either. So like you can't just do like array.map because it doesn't exist. You have to use a for. So I definitely don't think that it's like we chop 2 characters off and now you can use it like this. I think it's just a let's see. Test uninitialized value. Blah, blah, blah. This is doing, this. So this will be nil, which is what I have. So we can just check if nil. That's the go loop, right? The go loop was a successful, it was a successful test. So while tip to tweet is nil, right, can't convert it to dev tip, but that shouldn't be an issue, right? Oh, we make it a pointer to a config. Gotcha. Right. And then do this, right? And we need to like reference this differently all over the place. The flip table emoji. What's the way to send this? Why can't I remember? I think it's the only place we use it, so it doesn't matter. But we're basically dereferencing the pointer to pass it into batch dev tip images, so that we don't have to change that because we don't actually need it to do much. So we take this and we put this in here, and we set tip to tweet index. If tips tip to tweet index dot what are we saying? ID? We have includes on the list here. What did we even call the other thing? Tip speed and last fade includes, right? Golang slice includes contains. Are you joking? Oh, it's so stupid. You have to write your own contains. This is one of the things that I don't like about Go. The strings package maybe has a contains in it. So stupid. Okay, well, I guess we're writing a loop. What is this? Tips tweeted in last N days. Tip ID. If tip ID equals let me move this in here. Woof. Woof. Okay. So now what we have is, now that I've spent a bunch of time coding. Later, Jason. Oh, man. So we have the tips tweeted in the last N days. We wrote our query in FQL over here. That does the thing we need it to for now. It's not the right query per se. I think we need an index for that. But I also, when I write the index, what I want to do is I want to change the type of the object in the collection for tweet created at and make this a date. So that when we index on the date, we're actually indexing on a date and not on some random string. But this query gives us back a list of IDs. We're going to use that list of IDs. Well, first of all, this query we translated into the Go API version of it, which we need to construct these strings. We need to prefix everything with F because that's how I imported it. And I probably shouldn't have done that because that was work that I didn't need to do. We use a Lambda. You can see how the Lambda gets used in a language, even if the languages has like Lambda support. We get the results. The results are a list of IDs. We check to see if there's an error. If there is an error, then we just say like whatever. And we add the warning field to our honeycomb event so that we know about it later. And I can add like a trigger to my honeycomb stuff to tell me about it if I want to. And tips tweeted in the last N days becomes a empty slice. Otherwise, we take the list that we're getting back and we put it into tips tweeted in last N days using pointers and stuff. Then after we get the tips JSON from my site, right? And I'm doing this all basically sequentially. So after we get the tips JSON and we get the length, well, the next thing we want to do, what am I adding to my site tomorrow so you can go find it prematurely? I don't know. I don't know what I'm adding to my site tomorrow. What should I add to my site tomorrow? No. I'll probably add the new Open Graph images. I've got some new Open Graph images that are pretty freaking sweet. So I'll probably add those. But yeah, so after we get the dev tips JSON and everything, we're to a point where we need to check to see if the, I guess I'll leave a comment here, right? Since I'm commenting it live for everybody. We need to check to see if the, or get a dev tip that hasn't been tweeted in n days, where n is actually the value that we're using in our query up here. So it's 2. And then this loop is wonderful. But basically what we do is we say while our tip to tweet is nil, so while this is nil, and it's a pointer, so nil is one of the valid values for tip to tweet now. Then we get a random integer for the length of the number of tips that we have. We loop over the tips that we've seen in the last n days and get the ID. And if that ID is equal to the tip at the index of the tweet, or the number that we got, then what we do is not set it there. Actually, that's the wrong logic. I'm glad I talked this through. So if the tip ID is not... okay. So we actually need to do something slightly different here. Let's see. So we're going to have a list of tips tweeted in the last n days. If any of them match, then we don't want to set tip to tweet so that we get a new one. So if chosen tip was tweeted, false, right? And then here, if they do equal, then we say chosen tip was tweeted equals true. And when we're done with this loop, what we do is if chosen, I guess this needs to go outside that loop. We can do that too. So this will get initialized out here. And we can use the shorthand because I like using the shorthand more. Chosen tip was tweeted equals false. Then we loop over, and if it equals any of them, then it was tweeted. If the chosen tip was tweeted, if the chosen tip wasn't tweeted, then we set this. Okay, so I'm glad I talked that through because I needed to actually do that, or my logic would have been wrong. So yeah, then we get, if we didn't tweet the tip that we chose, then we continue. Oh, I need to add this, don't I? I can do this up here. So what I'm doing here is I used to have a key that was added in this map down here, but now the key is not available down there. It's only available in this loop. So I'm saying that when we're going to bail out of this loop, then we take that index and we add it to our honeycomb event so that it goes into our collection or whatever, and we can query it later. Cool. So I think that's good. I think that's everything we needed to do. And now we won't tweet anything that we've tweeted in the last 14 days, or 2 days, I guess, up here. So we should change this to 14. Because I think I have I think I have enough content to not recycle over 14 days. And even if I don't, I'll create another like 10 or so, and then I will by the time this runs into that problem. So cool, let's ship this. That is not even the right... There we go. Actually, what I need to do is poll first, because I don't think I'm... let's see. This is going to be the start of my writing better commit messages adventure. Don't tweet tips that have been tweeted in last 14 days. Oh, cool. We're already up to date. So now I can push that. And that'll run tomorrow at 11. And we should not see any tweets that have been tweeted in the last 14 days. Or technically, last 3, because only the data that we have in Fauna right now is, we only have 3 days worth of data. So none of these should get tweeted tomorrow, which is what? MDX, dot notation syntax, which is always popular. The onCreate page, which is less popular, and the front matter, which has been tweeted like 3 times right now. So in 2 weeks, we can confirm if this works. Yes, basically. But also maybe not. Because technically it could go randomly and not choose any of them for 2 weeks. Basically, the only way that we know if this fails is if it actually tweets duplicates in the next, in any given 14 days. And just letting it run, we won't know that really forever, technically, even though it's probably likely that it'll get duplicates. Because since it's completely random, it could technically randomly choose a different tweet for every 14 days for the rest of time, even though that's highly unlikely to happen. It'll be more likely as I get more content in the dev tips, but that's cool. Okay, so that does that. I want to explore what it's like to create a new index, I think. Lookup term. Where are values? Value is the field to be covered. Leaving it blank defaults to all. This optional field may not be changed later, but you can delete and recreate the index. Okay. The ability to add multiple source collections and field bindings is coming to the console soon. Meanwhile, you can do this via the Fauna shell. That's cool. I'll have to look into that. But it'll be on this. It'll be... So I need to look up what terms and values really mean. Because I think the term is going to be... we created at, right? Because I think, I don't know how we query for dates though. How do you think we query for dates? Because if we cover that, then docs. You could add something to your event to log if it was going to use a recent tweet. Yes, I did that already. I think. Oh no, I didn't actually. But I don't care if it was going to use a recent tweet. Really. Not in the normal operation of this, right? So what I'm saying is that to write the check that you sort of just suggested, where I say, like, if I'm going to use a recent tweet, then I add something to my log and send it to like Honeycomb or whatever. The problem with that is that I just wrote the logic to do that check. And if I was going to send a warning for that, that would mean that I have to reuse the logic that I'm trying to check with that log, if that makes sense. So this is exactly what I would need to do to check to see if the tweet that was going to be tweeted has been tweeted in the last few days. Which means that if it fails, then the log fails as well. Because that means the logic is wrong. If that makes sense. Because what happens if it was tweeted in the last like 14 days is that it doesn't get tweeted, right? We trap that, we check it, and then we choose a different one. So if I was going to add that to the log, there's no way that I would write the logic that's different than the logic that I already just wrote, which means that they would both fail and not send. What I could do is I could write some kind of lambda that checks and like checks the IDs of the tweets that have been tweeted in the last 14 days and does it like once a day or something like that, and then alerts me if it happens. I could do that. I don't think I care enough to do that, but it definitely could be a good exercise. What else can we do here? Fair, I was thinking line 185.5 would add something to the event to know that it caught a duplicate. Oh, you mean like if it catches, then add something to the event in a list form. But it, like normal operation is that it's supposed to catch. And if it doesn't catch, it doesn't mean anything necessarily. So I'm going to go with adding this to the event would not give me any substantial information that I could use to make a decision. So I'm not going to add it. I think adding this information would just be a little bit flaky, you know? Like, it's possible that it doesn't show up in the log, and that doesn't necessarily mean it failed. And it's possible that it does show up in the log, and that doesn't necessarily mean it failed. So I think it's not high signal enough to use like that. But thanks for the suggestion. I appreciate it. So yeah, we shipped. Let's see the build. This won't run until tomorrow. What else can we do in this? Oh, the other thing that I wanted to do is the GraphQL stuff. So I think maybe Wednesday will be GraphQL stream. Make sure that this actually builds. So two things I need to do, right? One is I want to set up this index for the date. And the other one is that I want to do this. I want to create an admin page inside of my site using the GraphQL stuff. So I need to write a GraphQL source plugin for Gatsby that will call out to my FaunaDB collection and get the information for the tweets that have recently been tweeted. And then I think I want to embed them on that page, which would be really cool. Because then I actually don't need to track like the retweets and stuff. And I can just sort of go look at them. That would be really cool. right? Because then like I don't know that I care enough to do like real analytics on this. I just want to sort of like see the tweets and be like, oh, this one got like hundreds of likes and that one got like 2 likes. So obviously nobody cares about whatever the other thing is. So I think this will be Wednesday. I like that idea. I like the GraphQL schema being Wednesday's work. Let me write that down. So we'll do Gatsby source, FaunaDB, dev tips, I guess. We will do import GraphQL schema to Fauna. What else do we need to do for that? Build admin page showing tweet embeds. I like this. I like this a lot better than building like actual analytics and going and refetching the tweets and stuff. Because I don't know that I'm actually ever going to go back and check and see which one of them has been most popular, other than to hit this page and be like, oh, I wonder what I've tweeted over the last month and which one of them did kind of well, right? And that would, just embedding the tweets gives me enough context on that. And the data gets pulled dynamically. So, yeah. I don't know if you can get the data for whether it's... In any case, so I think what we actually did just now is like, I have the favorite count and the retweet count, but I think I'm just going to scrap those if this works out. So that's Wednesday. Wednesday is going to be Gatsby source, Fauna, dev tips, which is going to take this collection, turn it into a GraphQL schema, import that GraphQL schema, and then build an admin page showing tweets for each of the embeds. And we have the tweet ID. So I think if you do a Twitter embed, right, like I'm just going to be able to pull in like React Tweeter embed or something, which I think I already actually have. Yeah, and there, and we just take this, and we'll take this data. And like, we don't need any of the other stuff other than like the tweet created that stuff. I think we can just sort by maybe. And that'll be it. So that'll be a really fun stream. I think that'll be... Everybody's interested in the native GraphQL support. So that'll be that. Yeah, but that nicely wraps up what I was doing today. And now the dev tips won't tweet if they've been tweeted in the last 14 days, which is exactly what I wanted to get done today. We talked a lot about the query language, etc. So I'm happy with where we ended up. And actually, I got another couple videos that I need to record for Egghead out of it. So I'll do those too.